Hello chess friends and welcome to Jozarov Chess channel and welcome to a spectacular game that I found recently on the official CCR Chess.com website. We have here Drofa versus Dragon in a beautiful Nimzo-Indian Defence, and today we'll analyze the game a little bit more from Black's perspective. So actually I wanted to show you this cool approach by the Dragon engine in the Nimzo-Indian. If you have really trouble how to play against e4, how to play against d4, if you have trouble really to find yourself a solid repertoire, in my opinion, against d4, the Nimzo-Indian Defence is one of the best methods to beat d4. There are of course good sidelines for white. White can also destroy you in a brutal way if you make mistakes in the Nimzo. But I think the cool part about the Nimzo-Indian Defense is that you can play the first 8, 9, even 10, maybe 15 moves without having so much trouble, because you're playing many times the same move, or you're trying to play the same ideas. Many times you get also in your opponent's camp some structural weaknesses. You have some opportunities to maybe play a solid positional game. So I think, as I said, that the Nimzo is one of the best methods. You see also in this particular game how the Dragon engine uses then its pieces all over the board when it has a clear target where to attack, and that's, I think, also a cool part about the Nimzo-Indian Defence. So as I said, please try to study maybe this opening, because I think it could solve many of your repertoire problems. So let's see now the game, Drofa versus Dragon. And here this Drofa engine, I couldn't really find additional info about this engine. It's a lower rated engine. It's not really this prestigious chess engine like Stockfish, Alpha Zero, Lila Zero, or the Dragon engine, but here it's also respected chess engine around 3,200 rating points. So here d4 was played by Drofa, as I said. Here knight to f6 by Dragon, and now after move e6, knight to c3, and now we have the common Nimzo-Indian Defense move, bishop to b4, pinning the knight now and trying to create some structural damage around the square c3, picking up the knight, and of course doubling up the pawn structure. So now we have the classical variation, queen to c2, protecting the knight. So if you take the knight now on c3, then you don't have so many weaknesses. So then you can of course pick up the knight with the queen, and also you are controlling the e4 square. In the near future, white wants to make progress and have a central pawn storm with many of these pawns. So in the continuation, kingside castling, bishop to g5, pinning now also the knight on f6, and now h6, hitting the bishop. The bishop has to retreat, and now c5. And this move c5 creates now already a wild and open game, because notice when you play now the move c5, many things can happen. First of all, we can play g5, queen to a5, knight to e4. We have a tension around the square d4. So you see, with this beautiful piece activity, I think you have really solid chances even to win the game here against white. c5 is now the correct move. In the continuation here, the Drofa engine released the pressure a little bit, played now d takes c5, but let's see possible continuations. If you, for instance, play e3, if you want to play more solid towards the center, if you finally want maybe to develop your light square bishop, develop the knight, and also maybe kingside castling. The problem I think about this scenario that after c takes d4 and e takes d4, it seems so that white could have here really a solid pawn structure, would have here really this flexible pawn structure, which creates also some important spaces in the game. Actually, it's quite risky, because look at this, knight to c6, we're already attacking again the center. You could maybe attack, protect the knight, pardon me, with the move knight to f3, but look at this, with g5, g4 hitting the knight, which is controlling the d4 square. Also a tricky idea, for instance, when what white could make as a mistake. So as I said, this is something that bothered me many times when I play against the Nimzo. Many times it seems that you solve maybe one positional problem, but then you get a new one. That's exactly also in this game. So that's why here the Drofa engine released the pressure and played now d takes c5. Now knight to a6. This is a cool move, because we're trying to pick up now the pawn on c5, and then we have again a control further on the e4 square. Then we're trying again maybe some ideas of queen to a5 and some more ideas. So we have now e3, knight to c5, knight to e2, protecting now further the knight on c3, and now d5, breaking now immediately again the position in the center of the board. And you see now, if you take on d5, then there could be some activities again with g5, knight to d5, and similar ideas. The main issue in black's position is, of course, when you play aggressively like this, that you could maybe get attacked on the d file. So the ideas are rook to d1, or you can play now queenside castling like the Drofa engine played. So let's see in possible continuations if you play rook to d1. It's not the same if you castle or if you don't castle, because the king is still stuck in the center of the board. If you play now rook to d1 in this way, look at this, what happens. Bishop to d7, you could maybe take out the pawn, but that's not the point. Look at this. in this particular position, black would have all of the minor pieces out, beautiful queen activity, and then also in the later stage, a beautiful rook connectivity. So now, for instance, okay, you take a pawn, but now we play bishop to a4. Look at this, how beautiful these pieces are working together. You have to play b3. We're stepping back, and it seems that maybe you made a mistake here from black's perspective, but look at this. After f takes e6, what is white going to play? You cannot play with the knight. Knight to c1 or knight to d4. Both of these moves don't make sense. Let's see. You play knight to c1. We're playing simply here queen to a5, and we're trying now this beautiful battery against the knight on c3. So everything is messed up here already in white's position. We'll play rook to c8, rook to d8. So bishop to c6, bishop to b5. So many opportunities are there for now for black. So look at this, it's already a devastating game for white. So see, with the move rook to d1, the problem is now that the king is simply pinned here. We have still this tension around the square c3, so that's why in this particular game the Drofa engine continued with kingside castling, but also stayed now active on the d file. Now the dragon engine played a beautiful move. Again, bishop to d7, again with the same motif, giving up some material, but just in order to have a beautiful piece activity. Now again, I'm pointing out all of these four minor pieces are out, which is a good thing. And now in the near future, we want to play rook to c8, getting this rook on the c file where the king is, where also the queen is. So maybe you can cause then also some tactical damage on this file. So c takes d5, of course, played by Drofa. And now a beautiful move by Dragon. Dragon sacrificed the pawn, created now a very annoying supported pass pawn here on d5, but actually stopped the main attacking chance of white. The main attacking chance of white, I think we can agree, was simply the d-file attack. Now, okay, we gave up a pawn, but the whole idea, the whole concept of white is now splashed. The whole motif, every motif now for white is not working. The bishop is a little bit blocked out by its own knight, so white will have to play 2, 3, even 4 maybe further moves in order to develop in a good way. And this is a beautiful move. e5 stops really all attacking chances now by white, and now actually black is on a beautiful attacking side. So here, king to b1. Now look at this, rook to c8, hitting the queen indirectly, of course, but if something clears on the c file, the queen could be really endangered. So f3, preparing e4, at least trying to get a solid structure in the center of the board. But now with b5, stockfish, it's not stockfish, pardon me, the dragon engine plays here, but it also plays almost like the stockfish engine here. With the move b5, we see already some beautiful attacking chances now on the queen side. e4, finally this idea, but now with queen to b6, we have now finished the development. There are these 3 stages that I always like to talk about when it comes to openings. First of all, we should bring all of our minor pieces out, which the dragon engine already did. Then we should secure the king by castling, which also the dragon engine did. And now we have a beautiful rook connection. This is now a perfect attacking setup here by black. So bishop to f2, hitting the queen again indirectly. The knight is a little bit loose, so that's why dragon steps back. No way that white is going to take out now the pawn on the knight on c5 with the bishop. If that happens, you basically lost your best minor piece. We can agree that this bishop has at least a decent activity. These knights are not good because they're simply protecting each other, and the bishop is blocked out. So you don't want to, as I said, give up your best minor piece against here the knight on c5. So that's why here the dragon engine stepped back to a1, because the king was also here on the b file, maybe an object of black's attack. So we have now a5. Here the dragon engine simply continues the pressure. Bishop to h4, a4, bishop to f6, messing up the pawn structure. Okay, there are now many structural weaknesses after g takes f6. The f5 is weak, g6 weak, h5 is weak, the pawn on f6 is weak, the pawn on h6 is weak. Okay, we can agree this is not an optimal position on the king side, but how is white going to attack that? Which pieces is white going to use in order to attack? Maybe you can play some ideas of maybe knight to g3, knight to f5, but we'll simply pick it away. Then we simply play bishop to c3, b4, b3. Knight to b3 is also a nice idea. You should not forget about it. Maybe some ideas of queen to a7 and then knight to b3, a takes b3, opening up the a file, maybe picking up the queen. This could be also an idea. So you'll see, okay, we can agree, as I said, black has some issues. Black has some tiny little positional problems on the king side, but I'm not seeing good ways how white should make progress in this particular position. So now king to b1 was played by the other engine. If you play now queen to d2, maybe getting out of this mess on the c file, nothing actually changes. We can play king to h7. You can play maybe something like d6, but look at this. Again, with the move a3, you can open the position. B takes a3, bishop to a5. We're staying in the game, and now we're playing some ideas of knight to a4, and I think the game is lost here for white. So this is not working. So in the game, king to b1 was played by Drofa. We have now a3 anyway, trying to open the b file. If something again clears, then of course the king could be endangered. So we have now b3. Here Drofa is desperately now trying to keep the files locked, and in the continuation, now a beautiful stunning move by the dragon engine, knight to a4. And this move opens simply the position now on the queen side. The problem I think here for white is that white needs to react. There's simply too much pressure against knight on c3. You have to make a reaction. We have now b takes a4. We have b takes a4. Again, the queen is hitting the king indirectly, but of course, if you don't move it, at least bishop to c3 comes with a check. So that's why king to a1 was played by Drofa, and now rook to c4, with a beautiful preparation to continue with rook from f to c8 and continue to create a battery on the c file with the support of the bishop on b4, with the support of the queen, with this bishop. This is now a devastating attack against this loose knight on c3. So we have now rook to d3. Here Drofa desperately tries to really connect the pieces together, but now of course rook to c8, continue with the pressure. We have now g3, and now comes the move of the day. Maybe you can pause the video and try to see now the best continuation here for black. It's maybe not so easy to see, but let's just work on some tactics here. This is a beautiful stunner that the dragon engine played immediately, so take your time and try to solve this small chess puzzle. It's not an immediate win, still you have to play, but I think the material that you can gain is simply a completely winning for the position here for black. So, okay. Okay, here after move g3, the beautiful stunning move that the dragon engine played is rook to d4. This is creating this deflection of this rook against the knight on c3. Now what you can do here in the continuation, the Drofa engine played rook to d2, try to get the pieces somehow connected. If you play now knight to d4, if you pick up the rook, then e takes d4, again with the same idea. You have to play now rook to d4, but look at this now, bishop to c3, the game is over. You have to now give up the queen, and it's a position that white can resign immediately. So you see, rook to d4 is creating now enormous pressure, so that's why rook to d2, we have bishop to c3, knight to c3, and now with queen to b4, here the dragon engine continues the pressure against the knight on c3. We have now rook to d4, but now with queen to d4, again the pressure continues. The problem is you cannot use your king in the defense because the pawn on a3 took over here on b2. In the continuation, Drofa tried bishop to c4, desperate try to somehow get some more pieces into the game, rook to c4, and now after rook to d1, pardon me, here at least some kind of an idea to make a drawish outcome, but it's not working because here the dragon engine plays now so rook to c3. We have rook to d4. Even if you play after this move rook to d1, if you play rook to c1, if you try to protect maybe now here the knight, it's simply not working because black will eventually open the position on light square. So you see, you cannot move the rook, you cannot move the knight, you cannot move the queen. That are the issues. You cannot even move the king. So this would be really an immortal Zugzwang. Here after move f5, the bishop is coming into the game. Maybe you can play some ideas, I don't know, maybe h4, we pick up here the pawn, you pick up the pawn, but now the bishop is coming into the game, maybe like this, bishop to f3, bishop to e4, and again, it's a lost game here for white. So this is not working. So that's why rook to d1 was played by the Drofa ended. So we have now rook to c3, we have queen to rook to d4, rook takes c2, and you see now in this particular scenario, black is simply up a whole piece and has now a completely winning game. The problem is also for white is that white cannot play actively here with the rook because there is also the checkmate threat on the first rank, so it's always a position for white. So that's why white needs now to retreat with the rook, and in the continuation now here the dragon engine just search for opportunities how to get the bishop into the game. F5, bishop to rook takes h2, g4. We have now h5, splitting the pawns now. Look at this, all of these pawns are now huge weaknesses in the position. King to h7, rook to g1, the king is coming closer. Here the dragon engine simply played active with the rook, picked up one pawn, The rook is always here on the first rank, so as I said, you cannot move the rook. The drag engine just picks every pawn now in the position. We have rook to d1, bishop to d3, now simply pushing the pawn further. Also then rook to f1, rook to f1, and after promotion of the queen, it was a beautiful, beautiful checkmate. So really, really great game by the Dragon Engine. I really enjoyed here this approach, this aggressive approach in the center of the board. Then this move e5, I think many of us would start to sweat in this particular position, what to do, how to make progress here, but this is the way to go. Let's go to this moment. In my opinion, really, really important line that we should know. So here, for instance, after move bishop to d7, your opponent takes, c takes d5, and now with the move e5, you're blocking out the progress. The bishop is bad, as we said. You still have your beautiful activity with the knight on c5. You have still this opportunity to maybe get the knight into the game. Queen to a5, b4, a5, a4, rook to c8. These are normal ideas, I think. Okay, maybe your opponent doesn't have to play necessarily this kind of an move, the same move order, but I think we can agree that here black is really a dominant position, a beautiful piece activity. So okay, I hope that you enjoyed the game. I enjoyed it really, really a lot. I'll add it into our Nimzo-Indian Defence playlist that I've created. We have here the Nimzo-Indian from black's perspective. Here's the link of our playlist. You can check it out if you want to know also about other opportunities against d4. And if you want to see maybe the top engines playing, check out our Common to Chess games played by computer series with some more games played by Dragon, Lila C0, Stockfish, and many, many more. And if you like this content, don't forget to subscribe to my channel. See you soon with some more videos, and what to say. Chess is the best, of course.